Hey everyone, I'm Hamd, and at age 13, I became an AWS Certified Solutions Architect, Developer Associate, and AI Practitioner. If you're wondering how I pulled it off, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm going to explain why I decided to get a triple certification, how I did it, and how you can do it too. But before that, you might be wondering what these certifications even are. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They offer services for the web. For example, running programs on virtual computers, storing files, buying domains, securing and encrypting, and even running AI models. And those are just 5 services from the over 200 that they offer. Getting certified means you understand how to use these services in real world scenarios. It sounds complicated, but it's definitely doable. There's a really useful document here, and it shows you how AWS recommend for you to progress through their certifications. I went through the application architect path, ignoring the cloud practitioner, because I thought it wasn't in depth enough and it wasn't as valuable as the others. Each exam is online and multiple choice, designed to test real world knowledge. For example, a question could appear such as this: a company has a web app hosted on EC2. Users are complaining about slow performance during peak hours. Logs show CPU usage on EC2 instances is consistently over 80%. What's the best solution? For those of you who are wondering, the answer is C, and 65 of these questions will appear as part of the exam, and you have about 2 hours to complete them all. It might sound intense, but that's exactly what makes these credentials so powerful. It shows you really understand how cloud computing works, and this is so important in the IT market. It can open opportunities for careers or even freelancing, and it impresses employers. And overall, it's hard work, but definitely worth the reward. As for my journey, it began in about 2020. While my dad was working remotely, he decided to spend some free time learning more about cloud computing while I was learning more about Python. He started by just learning about it from time to time, and after some practice tests and practice labs, he took the exam and passed. For a while, that was the end of it, until about 4 years later, I found out how useful these web services really were. At the time, I was learning React.js, and I was building a budgeting app, and I needed a reliable database. And that's when I learned about DynamoDB, a NoSQL serverless database offered by AWS. And after that, I gained a lot of interest and wanted to learn more. From this point on, I began training, and on 21st February 2025, I became an AWS Certified Developer Associate. And then I became really motivated. I felt like I understood the uses of AWS for a developer. But what about a cloud architect? I decided to keep the train going and do the AWS Solutions Architect certification, which I achieved on 22nd March 2025. And finally, I wanted to learn more about AI, so I became an AI practitioner a week later. If you haven't noticed by now, the whole journey was sort of completely fueled by motivation and curiosity. So my first tip for anyone who wants to do something similar is to actually want to do it. Ultimately, only you can convince yourself to do something major like this. So how did I manage to do it? I used an online course just to guide me through what I need to know, and for some time this was good enough, but I slowly realized that it wasn't actually enough to really understand the concepts. I wanted to make sure I knew each service in and out, not just speed through and get the certification as fast as possible. So I used a mix of materials and built a lot of side projects. I didn't just stick to one course. Real learning happens when you actually use the tools, not just watch someone else talk about them. I'd say you should follow a timeline like this. In November, I started the course and I completed it in December, about 2 months before the exam. But then I really focused on going through the console myself and making my own apps using the knowledge I learned. These are called practice labs, and I highly recommend that you do as many as possible before your exam. The whole point is to assess how well you can use AWS in real world scenarios, so the best way to do that is to actually do it. And after that, I found a few practice exams online, and also bought a few. I did one every week in the lead up to the exam. This is another amazing way to prepare, and if you're really serious about passing, I would really recommend buying some practice tests and familiarizing yourself with how the questions are laid out. Oh, and also, it's probably not a good idea to go out looking for exam dumps. It's just not a good way to prepare, and most of them probably aren't even accurate. As for the real exam, it should be similar or easier in difficulty to practice exams online. In the exam, definitely use the flagging feature. If you take maybe more than 20 to 30 seconds on a question, flag it to review after you're done. I would also recommend using the marker and whiteboard you get to write down question numbers that you found especially hard, almost like a second flagging category. But most of all, trust your first choice. If you ever go through and you think you should change your answer, really consider it, because if you have done enough for practice exams, you should immediately be able to get the right answer, and going through it again can just create doubts and confusion, so only change your answer if you're absolutely confident. So what's next for me? I'm not done yet, far from it. I'm planning to dive deeper into cloud and AI, aiming for the Machine Learning Engineer Associate certification next, and after that, maybe even explore Terraform and other cloud providers to expand my skill set. But honestly, the journey's only getting started. I've got a bunch of real world projects lined up, and I'll be sharing the process through videos like this and on my blog. If you're curious about getting certified or just curious about the tech world, stick around. Subscribe, drop your questions in the comments, and let's learn this stuff together. Thanks for watching, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next one getting certified.